Gracious God, we give you thanks for the gift of your word, for the privilege of singing the praises, for the opportunity to come together to celebrate your good news. Now, God, as we seek to interpret your word, be with us, guide us, and help us, that the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts together will be acceptable in your sight. For you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. We're a little uneven today. So if I forget to look over here, please forgive me. I will do my best. As you know, I do a pretty good job. It's this gap right here. Marv, be big. There you go. Perfect. And of course, he blends in with the seats. Perfect shirt choice. Now there are people that are going to watch this on video and go, what in the heck is he talking about? Which I kind of enjoy. So this psalm, Psalm 128, the last of our summer in the Psalms, is one that I really wrestled with whether or not to do. Because this psalm is about as not inclusive as we could possibly encounter. It is arguably dangerous in terms of what we could encounter, and it's a challenge. Now, most of you should be sitting there going, wait a minute, are you talking about the same words I just heard? Because I heard blessing, 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 right? So I'm going to unpack that a little for you. For starters, this is clearly a male-biased psalm, even in the contemporary English version. It points to the idea that if you celebrate God, then your wife will be fruitful. Now, I'm no math whiz, but that leaves 52% of the population out immediately of probably not ever having the possibility of having a wife. Now, I know the number of times my wife has said, I need a wife to take care of all the other things in the household that I don't get done, or certainly don't get done to her standard. But even then, and I got to tell you, this week as I prepared, I said, oh, wait a minute, I got to do extra math here, because I have to remember that there's about 10% of the population that, or 10 to 15, depending on who you ask, that, of course, is in the LGBTIQ community, and therefore I have to calculate the wives differently. And then all of a sudden I went, aha, but I can balance that off with the other half of gender identities that also would not have a wife in there, so the stats remain the same. Now you're not distracted by that number, which was the whole purpose of giving you those 4 sentences. Meanwhile, the psalm is problematic because it smacks of what we call, and we've talked about on Wednesdays, of the prosperity gospel. Now, for those that don't know what the prosperity gospel is, it's basically a theological mindset that says, if I please God, God will make me wealthy. It's right there in the name, prosperity gospel. And the biggest problem I have with prosperity gospel, there are a lot of problems I have with it, but the biggest one is it excludes everyone who is not feeling wealthy and blessed and says God doesn't care about you. I got a problem with that. Not only because that leaves out 98% of us, right? In terms of what we talk about in terms of wealth in our world and our society, but more so when we are in difficult times to point to a theology that says somehow we are there because we haven't praised God adequately and followed God's rules sufficiently, so we are just left to suffer, is hugely problematic. The God I know, understand, study, serve, preach is one that meets us in times of need and lifts us up without regard to our praise, simply accepting and loving the praise that comes as we respond to God later. And that leads to the real difficult question. When it comes to relationship with God, who acts first? Does God wait for us to express our faith and belief and love for God before God starts showing love to us? No. Does God wait until we accept what God is giving to start giving? I don't think so. So if we can agree that God loves first, look out, buckle your seatbelts, it's about to get dangerous. Does that mean it really doesn't matter if we respond? Uh-oh! Now we're running into the big problem of this psalm and why I really wrestled with it. But I thought, hey, the people that come on Labor Day weekend, they deserve a treat. So let's give them one. What, you're not enjoying this? Because I'm having a ball with it. I love wrestling with the text this way. So what we're saying is no. What I'm saying is no. No, God does not need our response. But the point of our response is because when we experience blessing, we need to be aware of those in whatever way. I don't know if you've done the same thing Sarah and I have tried to do, but one of our main goals in life in raising children has been to make them aware of others around them. Aware when others are in need, aware when others are celebrating and happy, aware when they're just having trouble carrying a box. Whatever it is, how do I describe this? When I was a child, being raised as a male in the Deep South, I was taught to hold a door for a lady. Which I presume means I can just let it go if some guy walked up. Even if he was carrying a big box or some heavy weight or, a couple of suitcases, he shows up, you're on your own, buddy. I just have to hold the door for the ladies. That was the subtext of the message I was getting. Now, I realize we're not in the Deep South anymore, but play along with me for a moment. Does any of us believe that's appropriate or aware or kind? Because I want to have a discussion. No. We are aware of those around us so that we can be helpful in whatever way. When we encounter someone who is experiencing sadness or grief, it's a little weird or creepy if we don't know them. Hey, let me pray through that with you. However, as I've told you before about my friend Denise Bell, who encounters folks like that all the time and says, and I got to tell you, I got to pause and tell you about Pastor Bell. She is this glowingly welcoming little woman, happens to be fairly brown-skinned. That's not important in and of itself, but she's very welcoming to everyone. She is very non-threatening presence. I know sometimes I have a little bit of a threatening presence. Belle has none of that. And she'll look at you and she'll say, darling, who's praying for you? And the number of people that respond to her with, I don't know, or not enough, or whatever, and then she says, may I? And she gets away with that. If I did that, it might come off, I don't know. It depends on the situation. If you did that, it depends on the situation. She does it in grocery lines, on airplanes. I swear she would do it at the drive-up ATM if she could hop out of her car if she thought she saw someone in distress. She's that way. And it is a reflection of a theology that says God meets us in all things and works for our good. The problem with Psalm 128 is it celebrates it as if it is our action which creates God's desire to help us. Once upon a time, there was Sophia. And Sophia had a little baby, named the baby Izzy. And every night, Sophia would rock the baby in her arms and coo and look at Izzy and say, I gave you life so that I could teach you to love and to promise you that if you follow the rules, you will be happy. She repeated that mantra every day to Izzy. Izzy grew, began to develop a personality, a will, a desire. At a young age, Izzy would misbehave, and Sophia would gently correct Izzy and bring Izzy back into line and hold Izzy and say lovingly, I gave you life so that I could teach you to love. And if you follow the rules, you will be happy. Throughout Izzy's life, this continued with Sophia gently and lovingly drawing Izzy back to herself, lovingly correcting, carefully supporting. Izzy became a teenager and did as teenagers tend to do, trying to find their own way, their own sense of identity, pulling away from Sophia, misbehaving here and there, challenging the rules, having difficulty. And as Sophia would help Izzy out of the problems or challenges that life presented, Sophia would say, always remember, dear child, I gave you life so that you could learn to love and learn that if you follow the rules, you will be happy. Life continued on. Izzy became an adult, a parent, tried to send along the same messages. Saw Sophia a little less often than Sophia would wish. But every time Sophia saw Izzy and the family, she would lovingly touch each one, saying, we gave you life so that you would learn to love. And if you followed the rules, you will be happy. As life continued on, Izzy had a realization. Looked at Sophia one day and said, how come you never told me the rules? It just occurred to me throughout my life. I have heard you say, I gave you life so that I could teach you to love and remind you that if you follow the rules, you will be happy. But, Sophia, what are the rules? At least the important ones. And Sophia, in the presence of Jesus Christ, said, Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one God. You should worship the Lord your God and serve only God. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Happy is the one who follows the rules of the Lord, who finds their life blessed, who is able to share love. Let those with ears to hear respond to the message. Amen.